just going to go ahead and get started. And I just want to start off by welcoming you all. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be with us today. My name is Katie Lee, and I am the Community Impact Officer for Bayou Community Foundation. Today, you are joining us for our 2026 Growing Good Nonprofit Grants Program. My goal today is to take you through the basics of our grants program, specifically those things that may be new, and answer any questions that you may have. So let's go ahead and get started. Our agenda today is we're going to do a general overview of BCF's 2026 grants program. We're going to talk about the request timeline, eligibility, and different review considerations that you might want to keep in mind while you're applying. I am also going to show you how to apply. I will take you through the actual LOI that you'll fill out. For those of you who are new, LOI just means letter of intent. It's the first stage of the application process. We're going to go over that in a bit too. So I'm going to show you how to access and navigate the grants portal. So pretty straightforward. We're going to go over the grants process itself, make sure you understand and are familiar with BCF's process. Make sure you understand all of your grant deadlines and dates, who is eligible, what type of grants you can apply for, and then I'll take you through the actual process so you can see before you get in the grants portal what you can expect, the type of questions you can expect to be asked. And then of course at the end, I'm going to give you guys plenty of time for questions. I ask that while we're doing the webinar, that if you think of any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. I will stop periodically to check that chat and answer questions as we go. If I don't get to it during the course of the webinar, we're going to make sure we go over all those questions at the end. So drop me all your questions in the chat. All right, before we go too far, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Please keep your microphone on mute throughout the entirety of the webinar. All your questions, comments, again, you can put that in the group chat. We're going to answer everything, I promise. And as a reminder for anyone who just joined us, the webinar is being recorded. When it's done, I'm going to email that out to everyone who participated, so you will have the recording along with anything that you see in the webinar. If there's any links or resources we discuss, I'll send that out as well. This recording will also be available on our grants process website. All right, so let's start with a general overview. All the information related to Bayou Community Foundation's 2026 Growing Good Nonprofit Grants Program is available on our website. And we're about to go just straight there because the information, everything you need is there. During this webinar, we're going to walk through the full guidelines found on the website together. I'm going to highlight some key sections of the application process. This QR code will take you directly there if you need it, or just type in Google bayoucf.org/grants-process. All right, so what I'm going to do now, if you guys give me a moment, is I am going to switch over to the website. All right. Can everyone confirm that you see my website? Can someone unmute and say that you see it?
Yes, we see it.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so this is the Bayou Community Foundation website. Everything you need for the grants process can be found here. You go to nonprofits. Right at the top is annual nonprofit grants process. I will highlight one other thing that might be of interest to you guys. Right under that is grants awarded. If you click on this link, it will show you all the grants we have granted in the past. So if you are a new grantee, this might be a really good place to start. You can read and see which organizations, the amount, and for what we have already granted to. So it kind of gives you an idea if what your organization is working on aligns with BCF's goals. That's a really great place to start. All right, so for the annual grants process, we did open on January 28th. Our grants process always opens mid to late January. And you'll see this great apply button, but we're not going to go there yet. We're going to read through some of this. So for those of you who are not new to BCF's grant process, you have applied in the past, you've been a grantee in the past, we have some exciting new news. Bayou Community Foundation is pleased to announce 3 grant tiers for our 2026 Growing Good Nonprofit Grants Program. We are now offering 3 different grant opportunities. The first is our Growing Impact Grants, our Growing Capacity Grants, and our Growing Innovation Grants. And I will go into very great detail about these 3 later in the webinar, but just to give you an overview, the Impact Grants are up to $30,000 to fund the continuation and expansion of critical nonprofit programs. These are very similar to the type of grant applications we've accepted in the past, but again, I'm going to go into more detail later. The Growing Capacity Grants is something brand new for Bayou Community Foundation. These are grants of up to $10,000 awarded to fund operations and infrastructure to strengthen local nonprofits. And then our Growing Innovation Grant. These are grants of up to $30,000 to award new, innovative, and collaborative programs to fill critical community needs. So if your organization is looking to team up with another organization and you have a new idea, a new innovative thing to meet needs, this is the grant you want to look at. So again, we opened on January 28th. Our deadline is Wednesday, March 11th at 5 p.m. This is a very important date, and I'm going to continue to repeat this date over and over again. Your grant application is due Wednesday, March 11th by 5 p.m. It will not let you turn it in at 5:01 p.m. Once all the initial applications are turned in, they will be submitted to our grants committee. The grants committee will read over them and select applicants to be invited to the next phase by May. So for those of you who are not familiar, our grants application has 2 phases. Phase 1 is the initial, which will be due in March, on March 11th. Then the grants committee chooses from there those to move on to phase 2. Phase 2 is a much longer and more involved application, and no worries, if you move on to phase 2, I do a webinar for those applicants as well. Grant awards are announced in August and funded by August 31st. So again, our funding grant period, meaning the period for which you will spend the money that you're awarded, is August 1st, 2026 to July 31st, 2027. So we're going to go over a lot of dates, but just again, we open January 28th. Phase 1 applications are due Wednesday, March 11th by 5 p.m. If you are chosen to move phase 2, those will be due in May. Applicants are announced in awardees are announced in August. Grant funds are spent from August 1st, 2026 to July 31st, 2027. So let's talk about some initial eligibility. Are you eligible to be able to apply for a Bayou Community Foundation grant? To be eligible, you must be a federally approved, tax-exempt 501c nonprofit organization or other tax-exempt public education government institutes in good standing. You must be serving Lafourche, Terrebonne, and/or Grand Isle. You must serve the residents of Lafourche, Terrebonne, and/or Grand Isle. And you must have staff and/or volunteers who are working within Lafourche, Terrebonne, and/or Grand Isle. You must have local program management, local leadership in the form of a board of directors, advisory committee, and local financial support. So what do we fund? This year, we have 6 very specific target areas for our grants application. All 3 tiers have to fit into one of these. So when once you've decided the grant tier you want to apply for, you will then have to choose your category. These are the categories we are offering this year: housing, behavioral health services and access to healthcare, food security, youth development and education, essential services that support the safety, stability, and well-being of vulnerable and under-resourced individuals and households, and nonprofit collaboration and integrated community resources. And obviously the Growing Innovation Grant would fit under that category. Some things to know before you apply. This is a competitive grants program. When you turn in your application, you are competing against every other organization that also applies to the program. The applications evaluated and grants recommended by grants committee have to be approved by a board of directors. Each applicant may only apply for one grant per year, which means you cannot apply for all 3 tiers. You have to choose one tier to apply for. You, as an organization, you can only apply for one grant. So if you do multiple programs, you can only apply for a grant for one program. Grant awards may be made in one or more grant tiers and in varying amounts based on the grant committee's evaluation of eligible applications and funding available, which basically means we don't have a set minimum or maximum number of grants for each tier. It depends on the applications that come in. This one is really, really important, the next one. If you are an applicant from past BCF programs, this is very new. Beginning with grants awarded in 2026, grants will be limited to 3 consecutive years per organization. So what does that mean? That means that starting in 2026, if you are awarded a grant for BCF, and then you're awarded a grant in 2027, and then you're awarded a grant in 2028, then in 2029, you have to sit out. You are only allowed to receive grants for 3 years in a row, and then you have to take a break for a year. If anyone has questions about that, feel free to contact me later and we can talk about it in more detail. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and go to the full grants program guidelines now. This is a PDF that can be downloaded. I highly suggest that you download it and read it through thoroughly. All right. So since 2013, Bayou Community Foundation has awarded 336 annual grants totaling over $3 million to qualified nonprofits serving Terrebonne, Lafourche, and Grand Isle. In 2026, our Growing Good Nonprofits program will continue to fund impactful nonprofit programs that fill critical needs in our service area, defined and identified by our community needs assessment. As a reminder, all of our grants are done through our grants portal. If you're unfamiliar with our grants portal, no worries. I'm going to take you there and show it to you later. All grant applications are done through here. All reports are turned in through here. We don't accept any grant applications or reports through email. They all have to be done through the portal. And again, this is the 5th time I say it, your deadline to apply is Wednesday, March 11th at 5 p.m. I very highly encourage you to start filling out your grant application much earlier than March 11th, because we all know there will be tech problems and you want to give yourself as much time as possible to answer all the questions. After March 11th, again, our grants committee will receive all of the initial applications. They will go through them and they will decide who to invite to phase 2. You will get those emails by May. You will receive a notification no matter what. If you're invited to move to the next phase, or if we decline to move you to the next phase, you're going to get an email letting you know either way. All right, so again, some important dates. Make sure you mark all of these on your calendars. The grants will be awarded by August, and your funding period is August 1st to July 31st. So when you're developing your grant program and thinking about what you need funds for, just keep in mind that those funds have to be spent between August 1st, 2026 and July 31st, 2027. All right, so let's get into the grant tiers, which is the new fun thing we got this year. So the Growing Impact grants, again, that's up to $30,000 to fund the continuation and expansion of critical nonprofit programs. Our capacity grants, up to $10,000 to award fund operations and infrastructure. And our innovation grant, up to $30,000 awarded to fund new, innovative, and collaborative programs to fill critical community needs. So we're going to get a little bit more into the tier descriptions. And when we're done doing the tier descriptions, we'll switch back and we'll see if we have any questions. So if you guys have any questions about any of this, make sure you put that in the chat. We'll switch back and forth as soon as we're kind of done going through this description. So the Growing Impact Grants supports the continuation and expansion of established high-impact nonprofit programs that address critical community needs identified in our needs assessment. This is the type of grants that Bayou Community Foundation has funded in the past. So if you have applied in the past, if you've been a grantee in the past, we just renamed it. It is very similar to what we've done in the past. These grants can be up to $30,000. Now, as a piece of advice, when you are asking for an amount, make sure that you're asking for an amount that fits within your grant tier. So the impact grants are up to $30,000. You cannot ask for more than $30,000. The capacity grants are $10,000. If you select that tier, you cannot ask for more than $10,000. So grants for up to $30,000 may be awarded to organizations with programs in operation for at least 1 year. So again, this is very typical of what we've done in the past. Your program and your nonprofit has to have been working for at least 1 year. Deadlines and demonstrated meaningful impact on the community's population served. Funding is intended to support programs with a strong likelihood of broad community benefits and outcomes that extend beyond the grant period. And there will be a place in the LOI, that initial application, for you to tell us about your program, what you've already done, and how this money will help you support your program and give it benefits that are going to outlast the grant period. So the next part is also something new for you guys to pay attention to that's applied in the past. Grant requests may not exceed 50% of the total program budget. So if your program budget is $10,000 and you do the math, you can only ask for $5,000. If your program budget is $20,000, you cannot ask for $30,000. You can only ask for $15,000. There will be several areas when you're filling out the application where we'll ask about your program budget, your organizational budget, the amount your grant's asking for. Pay very close attention to those money boxes, those dollar boxes, to make sure they all line up. Now this can, the cost or grants requests may not exceed 50% of the total program budget and may include costs directly necessary for program delivery, such as equipment, supplies, limited administration support, other direct program expenses. So the way you can think of this one is that the Growing Impact Grants are for nonprofits with programs that are already up and running for a year. You're already out there making a difference. This funding would help you to continue or expand your program that already exists so that you can serve more people or meet a growing demand. So if your program is already up and running, you already have results, and you're just seeking to enhance this program and grow this program, then the Growing Impacts is for you. All right, so let's go to the capacity grant, which is brand new for all of us. So the Growing Capacity Grant strengthens the effectiveness of nonprofit organizations whose core mission addresses critical community needs. These grants are designed to build organizational capacity and infrastructure, so nonprofits are better equipped to deliver essential programs and services that fill critical needs. So for instance, this grant focuses on strengthening the nonprofit organization itself, not the program, not those deliverables that are going out to the public, but the organization itself. It's an internal systems and infrastructure that you need to deliver your programs effectively and sustainably. So this is for staffing, equipment, planning, systems, rather than a specific program. And if you're unsure which tier you should choose, you can reach out to me outside of the webinar, explain what it is that you're wanting to ask for, and I will help guide you through that. So again, as we mentioned earlier, these grants can only be up to $10,000, and they're awarded to eligible organizations that have been operational as a 501(c)(3) for at least 1 year. So just like the impact grant, your organization has to be at least a year old. Initial grant request deadline and can demonstrate meaningful impact on the communities or populations they serve. So just like the impact grant, in this tier, you will have a place to talk about your organization and what you're doing and the impact that you're having on our community. The grant request may not exceed 50% of the organization's budget. So while the impact couldn't be more than 50% of the program budget, this one is 50% of your overall organization's budget. And if you have any questions about that, we'll be able to talk about that later. Funding may be used for short-term investment that strengthen administration and organizational systems for long-term success. Again, staffing, strategic planning, facility improvement, equipment, indirect cost. You will be asked to provide a plan for sustainability beyond this grant period, so be prepared for that. Special consideration may be given to organizations with operating budgets under $100,000. All right, and our last tier, our innovation grant. Growing innovation grants support the launch of new programs that address critical community needs. These grants fund innovative, collaborative ideas that respond to recognized community-wide needs with special consideration given to efforts that engage multiple nonprofit partners. These grants, like the impact, is up to $30,000 and may be awarded to support programs that are newly launched, in development, or have been in operation for less than a year. Where the impact had to have been at least a year, these can be less than a year. Applicants must demonstrate a clear understanding of the community need being addressed and articulate the anticipated impact of the proposed program. As stated before, you must be a 501(c)(3) with at least a year. So the organization has to have been in existence for at least a year. Grant requests may not exceed 75% of the program budget and may not exceed 50% of the applying organization's total operating budget. So while the impact, you couldn't ask for more than 50% of the program budget, this one you can ask for 75%. But you also have to keep in mind that you cannot ask for 50%, more than 50% of the total budget of your organization itself. Applicants for this particular grant tier will be asked to describe a plan for long-term sustainability beyond the BCF grant period. So if you are requesting money to get a new innovative program off the ground, we will ask you, if you are funded, what is the plan to continue on past the BCF? Alrighty, before we get into the timeline, let's see if we have, any questions?
Hi, Katie, it's Tanya. I didn't write my question in the chat, but I think you hinted toward my area of concern is that with Thrive, we have 5 target areas. So we have not like built out rather, like our signature program. So if we wanted to do something grassroots, because we met prior to this call, and so we've got some great ideas. So I'm glad you mentioned that part, because I wasn't sure if we needed to have an existing program in place or can we build something. But it sounds like your goal is, once you build it, Tanya, what's sustainability for it?
Yes.
Okay.
I will ask that. So that is something you really want to keep in mind, is if you receive BCF grant funds to get your program off the ground, what is the plan beyond that? What if you don't get granted in the next year? So it's about sustainability. Make sure that you have a plan for that.
Thanks for the clarification.
Oh, no problem. All right, let's see. My chat's not letting me scroll. Okay, let's go ahead. Does anybody else have, oh wait, there it is. There it is. Okay, does anybody have any other questions that they would like to add to the chat before we go on to the timeline? All right.
Katie, is anybody in the waiting room? I got a text message. I don't know if you have anybody in the waiting room.
I don't think so. I put that anyone should be able to just join. I wasn't manually Let's
Okay.
see. I wasn't manually adding everyone in, but let's get back and check and just make sure.
It may
Let's
be a
see.
connectivity issue on her end, so I don't want to distract you.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't, it doesn't look like I have anybody. Let me double check though. Let's double check. No, I don't have anybody, but tell her not to worry that I'm going to email this out to everyone after. So,
Hi, Katie. This is Raquel with the People's Patriot Project.
hey.
I put a question in the chat, but I don't know if anyone can see it because it's empty except for my question.
Yeah, we're having a little bit trouble with the chat. I'm gonna have to work with that. So go ahead, ask your question.
Okay. People's Patriot Project is actually started up in northern United States, but we have a chapter here locally in Louisiana. Would that be, I mean, would we be allowed to apply for the grant if we have a chapter here, a
Yes,
part
you
of a
have
bigger
local leadership.
organization?
Yeah, you have local leadership here. You have I would assume that what you mean by chapter is that you have a local group, they live and work here, and that your focus is in the Bayou region.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There are other examples is like Second Harvest. They are much bigger than the Bayou region, but they have a local warehouse here, so they're allowed to apply. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any quick questions? Apparently the chat's not working for everybody, so feel free. I'll give you a moment, and if not, we'll go on to the timeline. All right, so again, your phase one letter of intent, we call it LOI, is due March 11th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Once those will be submitted into the portal, which I'll take you through in a moment. After that, the organizations who will be invited to participate in the second phase. If you are not invited to go on to the second phase, you will still receive an email from us thanking you for applying. And if you have any questions about why your grant was not accepted, we're more than happy to talk to you about that as well. Phase two will be from May to July. I don't have an exact date of when the May ones will open. That just kind of depends. Organizations selected for phase two will be notified via email with your submittal deadlines. We expect those to be in June or July. After phase two is over, those who were not selected to be awarded, you will be notified by email. Those who have been selected for awards, you will receive your grants by August 2026. And we have a full, beautiful grant ceremony. It is our most favorite day of the year. If anyone's ever attended before, it's just a day full of just pure happiness. And again, your grant funding period is August 1st, 2026 to July 31st, 2027. I keep repeating these dates because they're very important for you to keep in mind when you're applying for your application. All right, so let's deep dive into eligibility a little bit. We touched on it, but I want to go through this a little bit more. First, 501c3 nonprofit or other tax-exempt public education government institutes in good standing, serving Lafourche, Terrebonne, and or Grand Isle. Good standing means that the IRS currently acknowledges your organization as tax exempt. The portal will request for you to upload your IRS tax exemption letter. So be prepared that you're going to have to do that when you go in. You must be operational with services provided in Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle for 1 full year by March 11th. So if your organization started in October of 2025, unfortunately, you're not eligible for the 2026 program. It needs to be 1 full year from March 11th. You must serve residents of Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle. Grants will not be awarded to serve residents outside of these areas. So if your organization serves multiple areas, say you also serve Jefferson or St. Mary, unfortunately, our grant funds cannot work with programs for those areas. It needs to just be Terrebonne, Lafourche, Grand Isle. You must have staff and or volunteers working within Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle. local program management, local leadership in the form of a board of directors or advisory committee, local financial support. In the case of a national, statewide, or regional organization, like our question we just had, grant requests may only support the local efforts. No portion of the grant should support the national, state, or regional entity. And again, only one grant request will be accepted from each organization. We define organization by your EIN number. All right, does anybody have any questions about eligibility? And I know what's going to happen as soon as the webinar is over, you guys are going to think of a million questions, and that is okay. You all have my email. Please never hesitate to reach out. I would rather you reach out with your questions than turn in your LOIs and me have to email you back that they're wrong. So please ask me all the questions. All right, let's talk about what we're funding. The Growing Good Nonprofits Grant Program funds organizations and programs that address the following critical community needs. And as I mentioned before, after you choose your grant tier, you will need to choose which category your program or organization falls into. So if you're choosing an impact or a innovation grant, which one of these does that program fall under? If you are choosing a capacity grant, then which one of these needs does your organization primarily seek to address? If your program addresses multiple needs, reach out to me and I will help you choose the one that best fits. If you are unsure which one to choose, please reach out to me. We'll talk about your application and I can help you choose which category need you will best fit into. The first is housing. Second is behavioral health services and access to health care. Third is food security or access to healthy food options, things like that. Youth development and education. Essential services that support the safety, stability, and well-being of vulnerable and under-resourced individuals and households. If you are unsure if your application will fit into this specific one, please reach out to me and I'll help match you up. And lastly, nonprofit collaboration and integrated community resources. Grants will not fund. This is also just as important as what we do fund. We do not fund capital or operational debt reduction, meaning you cannot request $5,000 to pay off a loan that your organization owes. We do not fund political campaigns or activities, re-granting programs, meaning that we cannot grant to you for you to then grant money to another organization. We do not fund religious activities. We do not fund fundraising events. So for instance, if you're requesting money to fund an event in which you will raise funds, unfortunately, we don't fund that. We don't fund endowments, scholarships. We don't fund direct payments to individuals. We don't fund scientific or medical research. We will not fund programs serving only members of private clubs, organizations, or institutions. And we do not fund expenses or activities incurred before grant approval. So meaning if you are working on your grant, your program's already up and running, you've incurred expenses in January or February, March, and you want to include that in your grant budget, unfortunately, we do not back pay. You can only use these grant dollars to fund starting August 1st, 2026. All right, does anyone have any questions about what we do or do not fund? All right, let's go to the know before you apply. Again, this is a competitive grants program. Applications are evaluated by our grants committee and then approved by our board of directors. Each applicant may only apply for one grant per year. BCF reserves the right to award grants in all or some of these grant tiers. It depends on the applications that come in. And remember, starting in 2026, grants will be limited to 3 consecutive years. This is a new guideline for this year along with the tiers. So those of you who are past grantees, I want you to keep this in mind. Applicants may receive partial funding for their requests. So for instance, your Growing Impact Award, you requested $20,000. If according to the budget that you provide, our grants committee deems that the program only can be funded up to $10,000, that is a possibility. Applicants are encouraged to thoughtfully consider the amount requested and develop a budget rationale that accurately corresponds with the proposed project. Applicants will be required to submit an itemized budget. Now, this is in phase 2. So in phase 1, we're going to ask you about your organization, your program, things like that. If you move to phase 2, you will be required to fill out a lot of financial information, and one of those is an itemized budget. So the amount that you're asking for has to tally to the same amount as the itemized budget that you'll provide later. So we ask that you guys very thoughtfully think about how much you're asking for and make sure that corresponds to a budget that you're developing for that project or program or capacity need. Also, just to let you know ahead of time, mid-year and in-year reports will be required of all grantees. So if you are awarded a grant halfway through the year, usually at the end of January, beginning of February, you will have a report to turn in through the same grant portal that you applied, and then again at the end of the year. And this just lets us know, how's it going? How much money have you spent? How much money do you have left? Those types of things. Does anybody have any questions about any of these know before you apply? Okay, request for food banks. If you apply as a food bank, pantry, or other distribution program, you do have some extra questions to fill out. This is just giving you a little bit of a heads up. Some special considerations to be given to applicants. Excuse me. Special considerations will be given to applicants that are a partner agency of a regional or national food distribution network that provides donated food or regularly receive donated food from local retailers or other donated food sources, utilize an income qualification system, and utilize a system to manage and monitor distribution to clients. So if we have a food security request, we do give special consideration to those distributors who fall under all 3 of these categories. If a funding request is for product purchase, meaning to purchase food, applicants will be asked to explain why and what additional food purchases are needed beyond donated product. We need to know why the product that you get from a partner agency is not sufficient and what those gaps are. BCF will consider funding requests for infrastructure to support the administration of food distribution programs, like storage solutions, equipment, refrigerator units, technology, and other resources. This would be a great instance of our growing capacity grant. The process is designed to support local food banks, pantries, and other organizations working to address food insecurity and fill those critical gaps in distribution. If you are interested in applying through a food security grouping and you're not sure if your application should be an impact grant or a capacity grant, reach out to me outside of the webinar and I will help you work through that. All right, just a few application review considerations. I know this is the 10th time I've said it, but remember guys, this is a competitive grants program. So when you're filling out your narratives, please be very thoughtful and be as detailed as possible. Let us know everything as clearly as possible so that we can understand what it is that your organization is doing and the needs that it's seeking to meet. Grantees selected, the number of grants awarded, and the grant amount awarded to each recipient are at the discretion of the BCF Grants Committee and Board of Directors, and of course dependent on BCF funds available. Grant evaluations and decisions are based on merit and completeness of your request and application. And that's what I was talking about, a very thoughtfully read the questions and filling them out. And again, in a little bit, we're going to go through and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Please explain the critical need that's being addressed, the population that you are serving, and the overall impact of the grant. Demonstrate the funding needed and the justification of your grant budget. An organization's BCF grant funding history. We will also take into consideration grant funding history, previous grant reports. If you have been applying, those grant reports that you submit, we look at those and we take that into consideration when looking at new grants. Special consideration may be given to applicants that rely primarily on local charitable donations and grant funding as compared to millages, dedicated tax revenue, or other government appropriations. Education and government organizations can apply, but we do give special consideration to those who rely primarily on donations. And of course, our grant discrimination policy, we don't discriminate. And by submitting a proposal, you give BCF permission to share your application details with other interested individual donors who may be interested in funding or co-funding with the foundation. So you are giving us permission to share your needs. And my contact information, again, I'm Katie Lee. You can always give me a call at 219-0048 or email me at katie@BayouCF. All right, I am going to switch over so we can look at the actual grant application. And while I do that, does anybody have any questions? All right, can someone unmic and confirm that you see the grant portal login, that it's sharing correctly?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, you know what, let me go back. All right, so this is our grant portal. On the side, it just has some basic information. If you already have a login, you know you log in with email and your password. If you are new, this is gonna be your first time, you'll create a new account. It takes you through it very carefully, your name, your organization, things like that. If your organization has applied in the past, but under someone different than you, let me know and I will help connect you to that organization that already exists. All right, so let me log in real quick. This is our test applicant. All right, so once you're in the portal, you can see there's nothing here because our little test applicant has never applied for anything before, or at least never finished anything. If you are a past applicant, this is where you'll see everything. You'll see every grant opportunity you have applied for with BCF. You'll see any reports that are due. It's all here. Now, once you're logged in and you're on your face, if you come up here to where it says apply, you'll see where it says apply right here next to the little house. You will see every BCF grant opportunity, and you'll see all these black ones. Those are past opportunities that are closed. The ones that are open will always appear nice and bright, and you can see it's our Growing Good 2026. You can either click here or click apply. And then it starts our LOI, our letter of intent. This is phase 1. At the top, you'll see all of your contact information. You can see this is our test user. As you scroll down, you'll see the beginnings of the question. The first question is your organization a 501c3? If your answer is yes, great. If it's no, stop right there. It does not pay to continue on. We're going to ask you what year your organization began serving Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle. And right here is a little upload button. You'll click the upload the file, and your little, see my little box opens up. This is where you're going to upload your IRS letter. The next one is your organization description. In this box, I would like you to briefly describe the mission of your organization, the needs that your organization addresses in the community, the services that your organization provides, the geographic region that you serve, and the clients you serve. So do you serve Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle? Or you only serve Terrebonne? Do you serve seniors living in Grand Isle? Tell me all the details. After that, we're going to ask for your organizational's budget. Just in those categories, click the one that you fit in. And then we ask, does your organization receive local dedicated tax revenue or funding? So do you receive a millage? Do you receive tax funding, anything like that? Yes or no? After that is your grant information. The first thing is your project name. Come up with a name for your project. And remember that this project name is going to follow you throughout the entire grants process. And it could be anything from the name of your org, the name of your project. If your project doesn't have a name, you can simply say, after school program, or, feeding seniors in Terrebonne. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Just whatever your project name is, know it's going to follow you. After that is where you're going to select the grant tier. Please select the grant tier that best fits your organization and proposed project. Each applicant may apply for only one grant per year. If you're unsure which tier is the best fit, we encourage you to go back and review the grant description and get in touch with me, Katie, and I'll help you decide. It's a little drop-down box. You're just going to choose. I'm going to go back and forth to kind of show you what these look like. So if you choose impact, the whole little impact section opens up and it asks you how much you are requesting. And I remind you, grants of up to $30,000 awarded to fund the continuation and expansion of critical nonprofit programs. Grant requests may not exceed 50% of the total program project to be funded. And you'll notice the very next question is your total project program budget. Please provide the total current fiscal year budget for that program. If your organization only provides one program, include the current project program budget here. If your organization provides multiple services and programs, please include only the budget for the program that would be supported by this grant. So the first one, if you put that you're asking for $20,000 in this grant amount request, then your budget should be $40,000. If your budget is only $10,000, then your grant amount requested shouldn't be more than $5,000. If you're unsure about that, again, reach out to me. Next would be your category of need, and those are the ones that we've discussed here. After that, you'll let me know again which areas you serve. Click all that apply. If you serve Lafourche, Terrebonne, and Grand Isle, click them all. If you only serve Lafourche and Terrebonne, just click those. Your grant statement of intent. This is to tell me as directly as possible, like this does not have to be very long. You'll notice it's only 200 characters in 1 or 2 sentences. Tell me what the grant request would fund. For example, grant will fund 100 meals distributed to homeless in Terrebonne Parish. That direct. Just say what the who the grant's going to serve and how are they going to serve them and where. And then after that, in the project program description, this is where you get to give me all the details. You have 3,000 characters. Describe the specific project program for which the grant will be requested. Tell me what is the need your program is going to address. What services is it going to provide? How long has the program already been in existence? Are there any objectives of the program? What do you expect to achieve? What are some measurable results already? Would a BCF grant be used to leverage additional funding? So for instance, have you applied for a grant that will give you $10,000 if you can raise another $10,000? Let us know if this will be leveraged at all. This is where you get to tell me all the details. After that, we're going to ask you to describe in detail the population that you plan to serve. Who the approximate number of individuals, the age ranges, the genders, the geographic areas, identified needs of the population. What are the needs that these population is facing? Like what challenges are they facing? And any other information that may be helpful for understanding the community to be served. Now, if your organization does not collect this type of data, That is okay. Tell us what you do know. Tell us what you do collect. All right, Hurricanes Ida or Francine. BCF may allocate a portion of annual grants this year specifically to organizations or programs addressing community recovery needs, increased needs experienced since a storm, or serving hurricane survivors. Does this project or program address a need related to Hurricanes Ida or Francine or serve hurricane survivors? Yes or no? And if you're unsure, again, ask me. And then lastly, your project program start date and end date. And just as a reminder, funding for this grant will not fund any part of a program or project before August 1st. And the funds should be expended. You should spend all the funds by July 31st, 2027. All right, so that is the basics of if you choose the Growing Impact Grant. Now, if we switch over to the capacity grant, it is very, very similar. The questions are the same, but they have slightly different parameters because of the type of grant. Before we go on to capacity, does anybody have any questions about the impact grant questions? Is there anything anybody wants me to go back over? All right, let's move on to capacity. So just like the last one, we're going to ask you how much you're requesting, and I have a little reminder, not more than $10,000, and it can't request, the request cannot exceed 50% of the organization's total operating budget. And then of course we ask, what is the total operating budget? You're going to select your needs. You're going to select your category. Again, you're going to give me your statement of intent, something really short. I give you an example for this one. Grant will fund the purchase of a refrigerator to store donated perishables for the food pantry. Really short. What is your grant? What do you need the grant funds to cover capacity wise? You're going to do your summary of your grant request. What community needs does your nonprofit focus on? What are your primary services? Because this one is about capacity, we ask about your operational structure. Do you have a staff? Do you have boards? Do you have volunteers? Describe a few of your most recent achievements or milestones. What challenges do you now face in growing your capacity? What would the grant requested fund and how would this strengthen your organization's capacity? Let us know how this grant would affect your organization's ability to serve your target population, to bring those deliverables, maintain operations. Would a BCF grant, again, be leveraged for any additional funding? We're going to ask about population served. That's the same as before. Your Hurricanes Ida and Francine impact, and of course, your start and stop dates. All right. So any questions about that before we look at the innovation grants portion? All right, the innovation grant is very, very similar to the impact. This one you can also ask for $30,000, but it can't exceed 75% of the total program budget, where impact was 50%, and it may not exceed 50% of the organization's total operating budget. So for this one, you see there's 3 little areas for you to fill in numbers. The grant request, no more than $30,000. Your total project or program budget, you can't ask for more than 75% of that. And then we also want your total operating expense because you can't ask for more than 50%. You'll choose your category of need, your geographic area, your grant statement of intent. Here, again, I put you a little sample, just like the impact. Grant will fund 100 meals distributed to the homeless in Terrebonne Parish. You'll give us your description. This is just like the impact. Your population served, just like the impact. Hurricane Ida, start, stop date. All right. Anybody have any questions about the innovation grant? All right. The only other types of questions you'll see on the phase 1 LOI is if you choose food security. And I'm going to show you what those look like. So if you choose food security, when you get to the bottom after your start and stop, oops, I passed it up, you'll see another set of questions open up. And the first question asks you, does your organization partner or collaborate with other organizations, agencies, and community partners to carry out food distribution? Yes or no? If you selected yes, we would like you to list those partners and who you collaborate with. Tell us about those partnerships. For the food distribution sources, if you distribute food, we want to know what breakdown does that food come from. So for instance, the first one says percentage of donated food provided by a nonprofit distribution partner. So if you are a partner with Second Harvest and 50% of the food that you give out comes from Second Harvest, you would put a 50 in the little number box. The next one is local retailers. So if your food distribution site does a pickup at Walmart and you get 25% of the food that you hand out from that, you would put 25 in this block. The next one is donated from residents or groups. Do you have community partners who residents just come and bring you canned goods and things like that? If 25% of the food you give out comes from local residents, you put a 25 there. And then at that point, this little calculator at the bottom will equal 100%. The last one is food purchased. So if the amount of food that you get from a distribution partner, local retailers, local residents, does not fill the need that you are trying to address and you have to purchase food retail, then you would put that percentage there for us. And again, this calculator should equal 100%. Purchase a product. If in the chart you had to put that you purchase 15% of the food that you distribute, we want to know about that. So tell us, what product will you be purchasing? We purchase primarily proteins. We purchase non-perishable canned goods. We purchase things that babies need. What gaps exist in current donated food supply? Let us know why you need to purchase the product. And how will funding this gap help you? And I'll let you know, if you were not requesting a grant to fund the purchase of product, you would leave this blank. Does your program include income qualification? So if you are a food distributor, do you keep track of those picking up food from you? And do you have an income qualification or other criteria for that? Does your program include managing and monitoring? So if you use Charity Tracker or Neighbor Intake or one of those, and if you're a food distributor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You would say yes or no there. And that is about it. This first phase is pretty straightforward. As you're going through it, just read carefully. If you get to a point where you're not sure how to answer something, email me. I will help you walk through that. As you're going through it, when you get all the way to the end, you'll see two buttons. One says Save LOI and one says Submit. So down here in the bottom right corner. So if you're working on it and you need to stop before you finish, click Save, log out, come back later, log in, and on your portal, you'll see Draft. And and all you have to do is click on that. It'll take you back here and you keep filling it out. When you're done, you'll click Submit. And when you submit, I get an alert letting me know that you guys have turned in your LOI. Remember that all LOIs must be submitted by 5 p.m. March 11th, 2026. Please do not wait until March 11th at 3 o'clock to start filling this out. All righty, let's go here. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. And does anybody have any questions? Any questions for you? Go ahead. We have a little time. You can take your mics off. Does anybody have questions about anything that I can help you with? Anything that needs clarifying? Was my program so good that you guys have all your questions answered? Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, when you said you take a break after 3 years, so you apply for 3 years first. If you get approved for all 3 years, then you have to sit out and then you can start again after that year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're awarded 3 years in a row,
okay,
then you would take a break after that third year. And don't worry, I'll keep track of it.
Thank you.
I will let you know, oh, sorry, you can't apply this year. You got to take a break. Don't worry, I got you. The main reason I keep reiterating that is we have several nonprofits who are longtime grantees, and I would like to give them as much time as possible to prepare for the fact that they may have to sit out a year.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments? All right, well, we got this done in exactly an hour. We started at 2:05 and it is 3:05. I am so proud. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download this video. Give me a couple of days. I'm going to email it out to everyone who is here and everyone who is registered. So if anybody had a trouble getting into the meeting, no worries. I'm going to email it to them. This video will also be posted on our BCF grants process website. So you'll be able to go back to it there as well in case you lose it. My suggestion is take the next week or so, go back and reread everything we've gone through. Go to the grant portal in the next week. Do it now. Go to the grant portal, create you an account, get yourself in. If your organization is already there and you need to be added, contact me so that I can make you the primary on that. I did that for someone this week. Their organization hadn't applied in 5 or 6 years, and the person whose name was on it no longer is with that organization. So just get in touch with me. It takes 10 minutes and we can get you in. So get yourself into the portal, read all the guidelines, familiarize yourself with everything, and that way you can start working on your ask. And as you're working on your ask, if you're unsure which category of need, if you're unsure of which grant tier best fits, please reach out to me. I love helping you guys navigate this system, especially this year. We're so excited. We have all these new things and new opportunities, and I want to make sure that everyone has the best chance possible to get their grants funded. All right, so before I let you guys go, any last questions? Awesome. So again, I'm Katie Lee. I'm the Community Impact Officer for Bayou Community Foundation. You can reach me at 985-219-0048 or email me at katie@bayoucf.org. The calendar invite that I sent you guys is directly from my email, so just respond to it and you'll get me right away. So thank you all again for spending the afternoon with me, and I hope you guys have a lovely week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Katie.
Bye.